Hello everyone and welcome to my page. Today I'm going to show you how to use Terraform to create an S3 bucket in your AWS account. So let us begin. So I'm assuming that you have an AWS account, and there are some dependencies that are needed for this project. You must have installed the Terraform in your system, and must have installed the AWS CLI in your system also. Then you also need to have an AWS account. So let's begin. So I have my AWS account ready, and I will need to connect through my Visual Studio Code on some Terraform command to create some infrastructures, some S3 buckets in my AWS account. So as you can see, this is my AWS account, and currently I'll check, do I have an S3 bucket created already? Let's check. So the last time I checked, I've destroyed the bucket that I created, but just for you, let's see if we have any S3 bucket available currently. So as you can see, we don't have any S3 buckets. Okay, still loading. Okay, let's allow it to load. Yeah, at the moment there's no S3 buckets. Okay. So we don't have an S3 bucket currently. So I'll be using Terraform to create an S3 bucket. Okay, so let's begin. So as you can see, there's no bucket currently. So I'm going to be using Terraform to create an S3 bucket. So let's begin. So the first thing is you need to go to your profile here. This is my profile, my account details here. You click on the account details, and we will need to create a security credentials, which is what we'll be using in our VS Code to connect to the AWS. So we will need to first of all create an access key. Okay, I have an access key here initially, so I'm going to delete this and create a new one so you can see how it is done. So okay, so let me first of all open the Visual Studio Code. So we'll be doing our development here in the Visual Studio Code. That's where we're doing our development in the Visual Studio Code. So the first point is to create your access key if you don't have an access key. So if you don't have an access key, you click on create access key to have your access key generated. And once this is I'm going to delete this after this video. So once your access key is created, you can download it into your paths in the system. So that's what we'll be using to connect to our AWS environment from the Visual Studio Code. So now that I've created my access key, I'm going to go to the Visual Studio Code and start my development. Okay, so I'm here in the Visual Studio Code and I'm going to open my folder. It's an empty folder in the desktop, so I'm going to open the folder now. So click on open. I'll look for the folder. It's an empty folder, so all our development files will be stored in it. I already named it as Terraform demo, so that will be our file. So I'm opening it up in Visual Studio. So just a minute, the file is opening. So I have my folder I have my folder opened in Visual Studio. So I will need to create the Terraform file that I'll use to connect to my AWS account. So already you must have installed the Terraform in your system to be able to connect. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create the Terraform file. So I'm going to name .tf. I'm going to create a file, a new file, and I'll call it okay, Terraform. So I have my file terraform.tf created. So in this form, I'll be establishing my connection to the AWS platform with the terraform.tf file. So I'm going to copy some templates code here, which I'll be using to connect. So I'll have to define my providers first. Those are the code that we'll be using to connect to our AWS account. So the providers will connect you to the AWS account, while the resource code will create whatever resource you want to create. So the provider code will be defined here. So I'm going to copy the template code. You can get it from the Terraform portal on how to connect AWS account to your Terraform. So the code will be like this. So we'll have the provider. This is AWS here. So which region is your account, or which region do you want to create your resource? So I will want to put in my current region. That's in my AWS current region. So currently, let me look at my account details. See here. Okay, just a moment. Okay, so I'm trying to check for my region. Okay, just a moment, please. Okay, so you have to select which region you would want your S3 bucket to be created from your the Terraform.tf file that we created. So I'm going to create the resources in US East 1 region. So just follow me closely and we'll get it straight. Okay, so I'm going to define the region, which is US East 1. Okay, so if you can see my screen, I will type here in the region or space US East 1. Sorry. So the next thing is to enter the access key that you generated at the beginning of the project. You remember we had generated the access key when we went to our account details and we created access keys. If you remember vividly, we came to this point where we say security credentials. Okay, so we had already generated our access key, so we'll be using that. Once you've downloaded it, you can go ahead and copy your access key. So I'm going to copy my access key. I'm going to delete my access key after this video. So ideally, I'm not supposed to hard code your access key here, but we are just demonstrating how you can connect and create resources using Visual Studio, Visual Studio directly. So I'm going to show you how to connect without hard coding your access key and your secret key here, because that's not the best practice. So you're not supposed to hard code your access key and secret access key, because if you it's not supposed to be made available to any other person. So we don't encourage you to hard code your access key and your secret keys here. So I'm going to show you in another demo how you can do that using the AWS CLI. So for